Okay, I'm going to put us in this.
Yeah, the Rodent Bowl, Oregon State Beavers versus the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Yeah, dude. It was really weird because I heard about the Bridgewater injury on fucking public radio, which they don't give a shit about sports at all, and then they just broke in and it was just like he got injured and there really wasn't much about it and they really weren't saying anything. And then like when I got home, I found out what happened and I was just like, oh shit. Like,
how do you dislocate your knee from your femur?
He exploded his knee.
Yeah.
His knee completely gave out. He tore
everything.
ACL, MCL, PC. He tore all of it. The eyewitness report, and this is a little disgusting, but the word, like, not only were multiple players like instantly puked on the field when they saw it, and the word is that the kneecap was just like dangling around.
Jesus.
He was sedated for his MRI. There was talk of potentially amputating his leg too. It was, I just hope he's like okay, but the reality is he's probably not ever going to play NFL football again.
Well, nobody in my league actually even picked him, so.
Poor guy.
Dude,
seems like these injuries are happening in like every sport now, just randomly, more often.
I mean, someone at work was saying it was like, oh, it's the turf, it's the field turf, and like maybe, and I know that plays some of a factor into it, but you know, there's a point where you put enough pressure on your knees, it's going to give. And right. there's an accumulated pressure. Just ask Ray about that, you know.
Exactly. So we're live.
He was doing his best Phil impression.
Ooh.
Right.
Ooh.
He was doing a Sid Vicious impression.
Ooh.
By the way, my team name this year is RG3 and 13.
Oh God! I swear she said she was RG3. All right, so yeah, hey everybody, welcome to the pre-Labor Day edition of Smark Snark. It's episode 224. Yank 'em. This is the painful part of the podcast. Hit the music.
Nope.
Okay, that's the music. Once Yank is able to fix that, we actually get real music back, and maybe we'll have a new theme song too. But not working on that on the side or anything. Hint. Excuse me. Hello, everybody. You can check us out online, sparksnark.com, patreon.com/smarksnark. You can call into the show, 812-408-9666 or 812-408.
Woo!
SRS Podcast is us on Skype at us, and you can call in. And patreon.com/smarksnark. Join us, help us pay for some of this shit, because, podcasts cost money. Let's do this. All right. Episode 224. My name's Gunner. That's Omega BR.
So, this season, will it be Kevin Owens or Terrell Owens?
I have a feeling if you're a fan of the Minnesota Vikings or heard our pre-show, it's definitely the Terrell Owens of that situation. Speaking of the resident Minnesota Vikings fan, I'm going to introduce him before you yank him. Save Us Dog, how do you feel about this knee explosion?
That franchise is fucking cursed. They have multiple problems with their $1 billion new stadium, and the quarterback they drafted to be ready for that stadium explodes his leg. There's no other explanation.
I completely and totally agree. Although I disagree with your pre-show assessment in saying that he will play football again.
No, I did not say. I said he would probably never play in the NFL again.
Oh, well, yeah, that's what I mean. Also joining us this week is a wonderful technical producer, Mr. Jacob DDS.
You guys are talking about football, and I'm just like, it's hard to be a Colts fan.
Yes, it is, considering
It's
that
really
your
not that
organization
hard.
is shit. Your organization is shit. Just saying. You can't fucking get Andrew Luck to the fucking playoffs. What's wrong with you? Speaking of somebody that's something's wrong with, it's Vassar.
I'm just sitting here hoping LA can actually do something, but no, not going to happen.
Maybe when your stadium, the 3.5 times the size of Disney World or Disneyland, is built, maybe that might happen then.
Is that the one that looks like Megatron's fucking...
No, that's the one in Atlanta.
Also joining us is Nat Jester, regrettably.
Hi, everybody. How you doing? All this football talk has made me hungry.
Please don't turn into Ryback.
What?
Please.
No, I won't. But between the mashed potatoes, chicken wings, and what is this? Cranberry juice I'm looking at here on the table, I got an okay dinner.
Nobody cares.
He's fat.
Yeah,
I'm gonna make him bleed.
he likes his Dodger dogs. Ain't that right?
Oh, dear Jesus.
Can we do the news?
Let's do the news. Wrestling Inc. reports that Alberto Del Rio has indeed opted out of his contract and chooses to do so 60 days ago, upset about broken promises upon his resigning last year, specifically a main event push. He is able to take any bookings he wants immediately outside of the U.S. until he becomes completely free at the end of September. Bye, ADR.
Some big loss.
Well, I mean, you were worked into thinking that, because it is a big loss, relatively speaking. You know, if he was actually pushed like he said he was, then it would be great. You know, it would be
That's what I'm
2010
saying.
all over again.
They're not using them, so it's not like it's a big deal to lose ADR because they're not doing shit with them. So who cares? Let him go do a bunch of cool stuff in AAA. And oh wait, can he go back to AAA? That's right. What's the other Mexican one?
CMLL.
Yeah, that one.
I completely refuse to believe that the bridge is completely burnt between him and AAA. He brings them too much money.
I would agree with that as well. But AAA is more of a disaster right now than TNA.
Ooh, how is that possible?
You know, it's kind of a precarious situation because he doesn't really want to do new. This is from Meltzer, his report. He doesn't want to do New Japan because he doesn't want to do that kind of touring. You know, he'll come in for like a guest spot, but Japan's not really doing that so much anymore. And New Japan's affiliated with CMLL, so if he did that, he couldn't really go to AAA. Lucha Underground, AAA Lucha Underground. Problem is, Lucha Underground is not making any money.
I was going to say, how tenuous is that relationship between AAA and Lucha Underground?
Well, I mean, there's the fact that, let's say, Del Rio, he made it clear from the first time he left that he's really interested in the paycheck and, what they would have to pay him compared to what little bump in the ratings he might give them probably doesn't count. TNA is still interested in them, of course, but, that's a whole other financial disaster. So, I think, Meltzer said this as well, he's close with, Galloway, and Galloway's been working, the UK is becoming more of an indie scene, and the idea of bringing these people in to, do these expensive one-shots, they're kind of the scene for that now.
So, I think what we're going to end up seeing is Roberto Del Lago in La Impacto Zono.
I thought for a second you were doing Harry Potter incantations. What the hell?
I'm willing to assume that he's going to sign with CMLL. If AAA is really doesn't have the money, CMLL is smart enough to bring him in, and that opens the deal to work with both not only New Japan but Ring of Honor. And Ring of Honor is another option that nobody talks about, which it's very possible he could end up there too.
It says it has to be outside of the U.S. though, so
that's only till the end of the month.
Yeah, that's a very, very short-term thing.
Yeah, he's gone.
He doesn't have a 90-day no-compete?
Well,
He probably still has the 90-day no-compete, but they can't stop him from doing indie bookings.
Well, basically, he had the out clause in his contract. So when he informed them that he was leaving, that kind of apparently that freed him to do any booking outside the U.S. he wanted to imminently. And then the actual out clause activates at the end of September, meaning then he would be completely free.
There's still a 90-day no-compete as far as like pay-per-view and TV, I'm pretty sure, but it wouldn't stop him from doing CMLL.
Well, I'm not sure.
I'm
not sure because this is like an out clause rather than asking for his release or anything like that.
I thought that was completely built into all these contracts, though. We'll see.
They keep saying it's an out clause as if this was something he had pre-established. That basically in a year, if he wanted to leave, he could, which is what he's doing. So
that's very much a possibility. Let's see here. On a recent Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer said of Dixie Carter, she's out of power completely. She's completely out of power no matter what's said, but she may be gone. Carter had an early exit from the recent week of tapings. Ding Dong the Witch is dead, maybe?
Well, basically she's only there, according to Meltzer anyway, she's only really there anymore to try and save face and hang around. But I think what it is TNA still has a lot of the same problems. I mean, they still don't have any money. There's been some interest building with the whole Broken thing, but they're still on Pop TV, which is not necessarily a big thing, and it's not like they have any promotion outside of their own stratosphere.
Their ratings are going up, not by a whole lot, but I mean they've been going up the past couple of weeks. And we'll say exactly the numbers later on, but they went up this week as well. Is that maybe partially because Dixie's not having as much control?
I think what we're going to see is a lot of groundwork being laid. I think if Corgan doesn't have to listen to Carter and Carter isn't sticking her fingers everywhere, he's going to start building a foundation for some of this stuff to kind of build that interest again. Because remember, it's not like TNA started as this big huge thing. They got the deal with Fox Sports and they kind of established themselves and had stars from Ring of Honor come in and all that jazz. So I think, imminently nothing's really changed, but in the next 6 months or so, maybe we'll start to see something a little different. Maybe I think the key is the touring schedule, not necessarily doing pay-per-views again because that market's pretty much dead, but you know
what they should do? They should make a website that has all their content available for streaming for a low price. TNA has that already?
Yeah.
TNA has had that for a long time.
They've had that for quite a while where you can stream all of their shows.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
I am terribly excited that Dixie Carter is out of power in TNA. That means we can start talking about TNA as a relevant thing. I think the two biggest things that they have going for it right now.
I'm sorry, man.
You laugh at me now, but watch this. A year from now, TNA will be something much bigger than this. It will be something potentially worth talking about.
It will be worth talking about because it'll be a decent program, and Corgan and the creative powers there and the talent, at least decent talent they can bring in could probably create something. That brand is dead. It can't come back to the level where it was, where it could actually potentially be competition for the WWE. It can't reach that level again. It could be something better, but it's not going to be relevant in the grand scheme of things. It's going to stay exactly where it's at as far as relevancy.
I think for the brand, you're probably right. I think the TNA brand at this point is just tainted beyond repair. The best thing they could do is probably restructure the whole goddamn thing and maybe even come up with a new branding for it.
Well, they are under a new I think the new actual company name, subsidiary name, is Impact Adventures. So maybe they'll pull the trigger and finally just rebrand TNA as Impact, which I know isn't much different, but, you know.
Honestly, I mean, and I disagree with Dog here. I think that TNA could be something relevant, not something that we're going to sit here and talk about and say, oh man, TNA, it's so great. I can't believe that they're competing with WWE ratings. Holy shit. No, I don't expect that at all. What I currently expect is the TNA to return to its former glory, if you would. And I understand that that's not former glory, but from where they're sitting and where they've been sitting for the past year or so, it is glory. 1 million or so viewers, some relevant fucking storylines, obviously. And hey, man, I attribute this all beyond Dixie Carter to Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy, if he didn't do this delete gimmick, holy shit, would TNA be so boring right now?
I don't disagree.
As long as there's WWE guys who are disgruntled and mistreated, and as long as there are indie guys who can't fit into the already sort of overcrowded NXT, then TNA will have a nice staple of people to rely on.
All right. Well, Brock Lesnar and Randy Orton are set to have a rematch at the live event in Chicago on September 24th. WWE asked Lesnar to work the Chicago show because his contract calls for different pay for live events than for pay-per-view events. Apparently, Lesnar chose his opponent based on who he felt was the best star available that night and would mean the most at the box office, which just happened to be Randy Orton. Damn.
It makes sense. They just work together. They clearly work pretty well together. Why not? But it sucks that we're not going to be able to see it.
Right?
I bet you can find 3 matches that Brock and Randy did in OVW, and they're exactly the same as they were in OVW. Like 3 parts of those matches. I bet you anything. But besides that, yeah, I'm excited. Too bad it's not on a pay-per-view, and it's not anybody that you think's going to see other than the shitty camera.
Why not do a live special, though? Why not like a Windy City Brawl or some shit on the network and throw a couple other matches on there that mean... And they've already done this with other house shows, essentially.
No chicken?
I think it's kind of sudden, which begs the question as to why they asked Lesnar to work that show in the first place. I don't know if the ticket sales weren't what they wanted them to be, or if they wanted...
It says in the story here that his contract, the pay for live events and pay-per-view events is different. One would assume lower is what they mean. Yeah,
but you could work him to ask him to work any house show or any live event. Now, granted, this is Chicago and it's a big market, but it just seems kind of sudden for them to be saying, "Okay, Lesnar, we want you to work this show," and the fact that it's Orton, it makes sense, but at the same time, it's like they did this really huge, pretty shocking angle with Orton, and now they're going to do the rematch on a live event. I mean, it really, untelevised live event, doesn't...
And on top of that, the live event, if it's in Chicago, I'm guessing it's at the Rosemont Horizon or whatever the fuck it's called now.
The Allstate Arena, yeah.
Yeah. That's only about 14 to 15,000 total seats. Why not save it for a bigger arena? Why not save it for Madison Square Garden? Why not save it for somewhere where you can actually get close to 20,000?
Well, they did save it for Madison Square Garden.
I know once, but I mean, why the hell not do it again? It seems really weird that they can't fill 15,000 in a city like Chicago. It's telling.
Well, I mean, there's that fact in the fact that it's a house show. House shows very rarely sell out, as do Raws or SmackDowns. But
not as bad as the Cleveland Browns preseason game tonight. Ooh.
The word I'd use would be scary, personally.
Speaking of scary, On his first podcast, Ryback claimed that he was once promised the top heel spot in the company and was told he would squash that little twerp AJ Styles at WrestleMania 32. Also, Cody Rhodes said in an interview that Battleground was indeed originally supposed to be the new War Games. Well, fuck, we missed out on that one, didn't we, boys?
We did.
They've got a lot of pay-per-views to fill now. There's a good chance that might just be coming back, especially with age. Yeah.
Missed out or left out?
No, dude. I want to see that. I want to see War Games and Hell in a Cell. I think the WWE-style War Games would actually be really kick-ass.
This would be
There just
good.
needs to be a good angle for it, though.
Would it be 2 rings, though?
No.
I mean, that would be awesome, but no, they're not going to do that.
Well, that's the main reason they don't want to do it. They've been discussing it surely since they bought WCW intellectual rights. But 2 rings means less seats.
Why do 2 rings, though? Just make it 1 ring. It's really easy. And then just put the Hell in a Cell over it. It's like, it's a very simple idea that I'm sure they're sitting on. They just haven't pushed forward yet. And will with all these new pay-per-views.
I'm calling it now War Games with a Shield reunion. And all of them are face. Oh, wait. See what I'm saying here? But let's talk about Ryback here for a second. Mr. I threw away $1.5 million down the drain.
Bullshit.
No, actually, Meltzer. That was a Meltzer number. And they attacked Meltzer.
Oh, no. I'm calling bullshit, not on the number. I'm calling bullshit on all of Ryback's claim. Except for maybe that he was promised the top heel spot. But there's no fucking way they told him he's going to squash Styles in Mania.
I think they did at one point, and then they realized that. Well, remember, Styles lost to Jericho at Mania, so this was kind of in the in between where they kind of. He was supposed to come in as like a mid guy, and then they realized he was pretty good, and then now they're pushing him as a top guy. And I mean, I don't think it's completely out of the realm of possibility. I believe that they told him that. I don't know if they were going to go through with it, which obviously they didn't. He said, by the next week they had already told him he was doing Kalisto. So
you could tell by the attitude and by how he sounds like and what's going on with that, how much that would rub against the WWE brass. It just seems obvious to me that his personality really was his downfall in all of this, and not necessarily anything that he did or that he said.
Well, even before this, he was kind of making noise about how WWE doesn't pay for road expenses and they should be, and he gets into that again in the podcast, just the fact that they kind of help you at first when you get out of developmental to ease you into it. But then after that, hotel, food, all that stuff, you're on your own. And, and that was his big argument too was, food pretty much costs the same whether you're at the top of the card or the bottom of the card. And if you're at the bottom of the card and you're not on the show or you're not in the marquee, then you're not making as much money, but you still got the same expenses. So,
which is a huge problem, and he's completely right about all of that. And it's like, name me another professional organization that doesn't do that for their fighters or for their athletes.
You can't, plain and simple. You just can't.
I just want to point out the quick irony of course, Ryback's going to complain about the food budget.
Damn it, dog. That was low-hanging fruit, man. That was low-hanging fruit.
Hey, no one else took it.
Feed me more, man. Feed me more.
Hey,
right.
I need to get fed too.
Truth Martini.
Each of these nuts.
Dinner was wonderful, by the way.
Truth Martini is no longer with Ring of Honor after being written out after having to have neck surgery. He was to return at the Las Vegas show, but there was no role for him with Jay Lethal now face. Eventually, he was told about it when asking about his return. By Truth,
fucked up.
He's got a great school, though. He's got a great school, though. So if you live in Ohio, go check out Truth Martini School. I mean, it's one of those schools that you drive 500 miles to go to. So, is it Ohio or Michigan? One of the two. It's somewhere beyond west of Pennsylvania.
All right.
It's really sad. I don't think there's anything else more to say, especially because he's been such a part of Ring of Honor for so long too. It's crazy to think how long he's been there.
I don't follow Ring of Honor as much as I used to, but I've heard things are kind of messy there at the moment. There's a lot of general complaints about the same 3 or 4 guys being in the main events, and they don't really pull the trigger on anybody, and then they let guys like Moose and Ciampa, go to different places, that kind of thing.
All right, I'm going to try and not butcher this. Kazuchika Okada.
Close. Yeah. It's in Michigan,
yeah.
By the way. I apologize. It is in Michigan. And his next class is starting September 26th, and it's $2,000.
Okay, let me try it. Kazuchika?
It's just Kazuchika.
Kazuchika. Okay, Kazuchika Okada was backstage at SummerSlam, but was only there as a guest of Shinsuke Nakamura.
Freaking
news?
Yes, freaking Okada, man. That is news. I mean, if one of the top guys of NJPW happens to come over to SummerSlam, if only to watch as a backstage guest of Nakamura, I mean, if this guy ever came to WWE, it would be one of the most amazing acquisitions the WWE ever made. The only problem is none of the WWE fans are probably hardcore enough to know who Okada is.
At this point, they would. The Axis show that they have with, that NJPW has is actually building an audience in America for it. So, and NJPW world too. So, I mean, I'm not terribly surprised that the wrestling world is catching on to what NJPW is doing.
Well, if you know any fleeting bit of information about New Japan, then you know who Okada is. Like if you don't know anything about wrestling, but you know that WWE exists, then you know who John Cena is, and you probably know.
And I think by this point, Shinsuke Nakamura is in the wrestling fan mind's consciousness in general now. Much bigger public profile because of NXT and having WWE's exposure. And if you look up Shinsuke, you're probably going to see a match or two with Okada or the Chaos Stable with Okada. That said, no chance Okada is anytime soon going to the WWE because he's making big bucks. He's going to be the guy in New Japan for at least a few more years, and he's still the champ. And they gave him the title when there's a much, much, much hotter act above him, really, on the card, but Okada's still the champ.
So by that, you're saying that even though we'll probably never see Okada in WWE, there is a smiddling chance that, say, at a SummerSlam or a WrestleMania, we could see John Cena versus Dum Dum Dum. Oh, my God, I forgot his name now. Oh, Jesus.
Okay. Since NetJester has fucking derped and herped, let's do the 15-minute time limit. I said, let's do the 15-minute time limit.
Tanahashi! That's it! Tanahashi!
God damn it. I come back to hear Chet Nestor going, Tanahashi, damn it, Tanahashi!
I forgot his name. I was wondering if there was ever a point where we could see John Cena versus Tanahashi.
No, never.
Fixed it!
But you did. Good job. Why do we have 19 pay-per-views?
Just our bad luck, I guess.
It's so fucking ridiculous to have that many pay-per-views a year. Okay, you want to have pay-per-views, individual pay-per-views for Raw and SmackDown? Cool. Cut it down to 12 pay-per-views a year. The Royal Rumble and WrestleMania and maybe SummerSlam and Survivor Series. Those are cross-brand pay-per-views. The rest of them,
The joint
split it
shows,
up between the two.
What about Money in the Bank?
I guess that would have to be a joint pay-per-view as well.
I also think at some point one of these pay-per-views is going to turn into King of the Ring, where they have both a Raw and a SmackDown tournament, and then a grand finals. Because Jesus Christ, they're going to start running out of gimmicks fast. They ran out of gimmicks like 4 years ago with Fatal 4-Way and fucking Breaking Point. And I like that they're bringing back the old school names. That's really cool. And I like Backlash, and I like the whole branding of it. But man, they're going to run out of ideas fast.
I'm just surprised. Like a few years, like not even 3 or 4 years ago, we were complaining about there being 12 and 13 pay-per-views in a year, and now it's fucking 19.
It's too much. Like, even with a network subscription, which, vastly cuts down the price to being nigh.
That's not including
negligible.
takeovers, by the way. That's not including takeovers.
Yeah. I mean, what the fuck are we going to do on this show? If you include fucking takeovers, we're going to have probably 25 or 30 fucking pay-per-views a year. I can't do it.
Got to be a point where the end game of this is to kind of bring most of NXT up to the point where there aren't takeovers anymore. Because, I mean, already on SmackDown, we're seeing matches where it's just like, who the fuck else are they going to face now?
Right, but then you have to replace those guys on SmackDown with new guys. Replace the guys from NXT that you brought up, and the ladies as well. You have to replace them, put more guys and gals in NXT so that you can continue to, farm up talent.
Well, here's the problem, right? It's how stale is everything getting right now? Because obviously we're only like 3 weeks into this, and it doesn't feel stale yet. Give it 3 more months and see where we're sitting.
Well, I mean, it's fine if you watch one show or the other. I mean, that's I've started leaning to where I kind of barely pay attention to Raw, and then I watch the shit out of SmackDown. And
I have a feeling that once this rating comes in for next week with Labor Day and then the Monday Night Football and all of that, not for this Monday, excuse me, next Monday.
No, but there's Monday Night Football this week too. There's a huge. It's Ole Miss and Florida State at the Citrus Bowl.
Nobody watches college.
Nobody watches
enough
college
people
football.
watch college where it's going to dent their rating.
Well, it'll dent the ratings, yes, but take the dent, right, and then smash it in twice. So so you got the double header the week after, and Raw's going to go up against both of that. I don't know. No.
Speaking of,
I guarantee you that SmackDown at some point or another in this battle will get more viewers than Raw on a non like special day,
and then become 3 hours long.
Oh God, I hope not. The saving grace of SmackDown.
You do know this is the end goal, though, right?
More than anything else right now, the thing I appreciate most about SmackDown is that it is not 3 hours. I mean, I love the wrestling and the stories and the stuff that's going down. All that is awesome. And also the fact that it's not 3 fucking hours. They want to pitch Talking Smack to USA. I would be fine with that because that is not 3 hours. That is not a 3 hour wrestling show. That's a 2 hour wrestling show with a show afterwards where they talk about wrestling.
So would that be the 15 minutes that we have now, or would that be half an hour?
No, that would definitely be half an hour.
That would definitely be a half an hour to an hour.
The thing is, that leads into the point where they start bleeding into overruns into that show to promote it, and SmackDown starts becoming 2 hours 15 minutes.
Right,
that's
and
fine.
I could see that happening,
but then it starts
2.5,
and then all of a sudden it's just like, well, we brought all this talent up. let's just make it 2.5 hours long of SmackDown and then talking smack for a third hour. It's going to become 3 hours at some point.
It's a lot. Like, I remember when
Well, the
Raw
WWE
first started becoming 3 hours, I was already like, no, I don't want this. Of course, Raw was really bad back then.
Well, I said this before last week, I think, but I think Raw is a little too long and SmackDown is a little too short. And I think when you compare the two, especially one night after the other, it kind of gets noticeable because on Raw, you'll have a 20-minute opening promo. You'll have a 15-minute match between, some combination of Cesaro, Owens, Zayn, Sheamus, etc. And then on SmackDown, you'll have every segment kind of rushing through. You might have Nikki Bella coming out for a match, but Carmella attacks her, and then that's your women's segment for the week. And it's not like there's anything wrong with that, stretching it out in that respect. But to the point of the 19 pay-per-views, at some point, from a pure storyline, perspective, it's the idea of, we're building toward the pay-per-view match, but then we still have, and I've said this before too, even with 12 pay-per-views, it's like, okay, you've got 12 pay-per-views or 19 pay-per-views, but then you've got, 52 weeks of television. So if all those 52 weeks of television are leading to the, fraction of pay-per-views, then that's where the creative starts to suffer. That's where people stop caring about TV because, why watch TV? Just watch the match.
I mean, here's a thought right now. There is 6 hours of First Flight WWE programming on TV every week right now. 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours of SmackDown, 1 hour of NXT. And that's not including the Cruiserweight Classic. And that's also not including, which will come back very shortly, Lucha Underground, which a lot of people watch as well. That's like 7 to 8 hours of wrestling every week without pay-per-views.
Well, they also have superstars and main events still.
It's a lot.
So 10 hours.
I feel like...
Plus, the pay-per-views are starting to get longer, not SummerSlam, but like the ones that aren't the main pay-per-views that aren't 4 hours are starting to turn into 3:15, 3:20. It's edging up to that 3 hours and 30 minutes.
Yeah, like what I was going to say a few minutes ago, when you kind of think about them kind of scramming together and kind of piecing together little storylines for the pay-per-view, that's what I felt like what they did with The Miz and Ziggler and Wyatt and Orton. Even though Wyatt and Orton are insanely talented, it's just like, hey, you want a match? Yeah, I want a match. And then boom, they book it. And then 1 week is confrontation. Second week is actually this vocal confrontation. And then rumored to be week 3 is going to be a mixed tag match. And then boom, we're at the pay-per-view.
I'm glad you brought that up because the whole, they're not going to let Bryan wrestle again, obviously. But the whole thing between Bryan and Miz, it actually got people talking. They used it on the show, but then they deflected all of it to a match with Ziggler. And that, not that that's a problem, but
are you kidding
it is
me?
a problem.
That's a massive problem.
It's a huge fucking problem.
It's not a problem if you need sleep, I guess.
That's exactly the opposite of what the fuck they should have done. It should have been Daniel Bryan comes out and he's like, okay, Miz, you want to prove you're not a coward? Then prove you're not a coward. Come out to this ring. You've got a title match right now with Ziggler or whoever. And then every week, Miz finds some way to weasel and keep the title just as like a fucking flipping the bird to Daniel Bryan, like, fuck you, you're not going to take this shit away from me, it's goddamn mine. So finally it culminates in a title match at a pay-per-view that's no disqualifications. Miz wins clean and then tells Bryan to go shove it up his ass. And then why not? Why not?
Because, I'll tell you why not. You're setting up Daniel Bryan as a freaking authority. No WWE
He doesn't have to be a bad guy. Because if the Miz is cheating and being a douche about it the whole time, Daniel Bryan is still the face.
You realize that, like, they're saying that the Daniel Bryan and the Miz are supposed to be kept apart from WWE television at this point because of how well that segment went. Because that was, shoot a little bit.
Well, that's the ultimate problem, isn't it? Because they had this great segment that got everybody talking between a guy who can't wrestle and a guy who's well, that's it, with a guy who can't wrestle. So
they've been doing this for years with Stephanie on Raw. They've been doing this for years with Stephanie on Raw, where she'll fucking belittle someone or just put someone in their place, and it's like, what the hell are you going to do? You can't slap Stephanie. Even in the Attitude Era, you couldn't do that too much,
But Miz can prove him wrong. Like, when it gets to the point where it's, okay, you're in a no disqualification match, or you're in a match where he can't be disqualified, but you can, and if you get disqualified, then you lose the title.
You guys are all wrong here. It's either Daniel Bryan comes back to wrestle, or he's like, you know what, I can't wrestle, but I have a buddy who was in the bingo halls with me who can wrestle you, and you have an Intercontinental title match with him right now, and his name is Samoa Joe.
Fine, but Miz needs to keep that title. Needs to keep that title.
I think the ultimate point here with it's not so much the fact that the point is they've given themselves so much more time. They have 3-hour Raw, they have live SmackDown, they have main event superstars, they have the network time, Talking Smack, all this stuff. They have all the time in the world to build these 19 pay-per-views, and at the end of the day, it's not really a time issue, it's a creative issue. Because again, they'll build this thing with Miz and Bryan, and then they will immediately blow it off because they can't have Bryan wrestle, and they deflect it onto Ziggler. And yeah, it's a reason to have a match, I guess. But again, it just it's so much cooler than the hot angle with Bryan, and that's the issue. Like the women's division on SmackDown with 6 women. They're trying a little bit with Carmella and Nikki and all that. But again, it comes down to, you have plenty of time to build these things and make them interesting, but it just seems like they do the bare minimum, like they tend to do. And then that's why even watch TV? They're going to have the match at the pay-per-view. What are they going to say on TV that's going to change how I feel about the pay-per-view for about 90% of the roster?
Well, we've got 2 minutes here. The way that Kevin Owens won the Universal title on Monday.
Best angle in forever.
Triple H won the title.
First person from Quebec to win a WWE World Heavyweight Championship.
Ew. Quebec.
As soon as
French Canadian.
As soon as Hunter showed up, I knew what was going to happen. But
yeah, it was pretty obvious, but I didn't expect Hunter to show up. So.
Well, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. That was pretty good. That was pretty good.
Okay, we didn't think that he was going to. We all thought he was going to screw over Roman. True, but nobody thought that. I thought he was going to help out Seth Metal, and he screwed over Seth Metal, and then gave it to Kevin. That was a complete shock, wasn't it?
No, as soon as he came out, it was pretty obvious.
Yank him. Let me get this reaction here. To quote Raven, "What a mark!"
So you all saw it coming.
Yes, it was obvious. Do you watch wrestling?
Seth and H is going to be a big program down the line for them.
Yeah, I mean, that's my only concern about this is how are they going to incorporate Triple H in a way that becomes the focus rather than Owens being champion? I would prefer.
I hope not.
I would prefer if he just didn't show up. If he did like a satellite feed interview and then just didn't show up, and there was tension, but I'm afraid it's going to be the Authority all over again, and it's going to be more about them. It is going to be about Seth, or in this case Kevin, and
fuck Amin El Hassan. Fuck you, Amin El Hassan. Mr. ESPN, go fuck yourself.
Oh yeah, that guy's a fucking cunt. Drink bleach and die. You fucking shitheel piece of fucking human garbage.
I guess I'll look it up on the internet later.
All right, let's I've got salty taste in my mouth. Let's go get some. Let's go get some ice cream.
Time for the Dairy Queen drive-through.
Dairy Queen drive-through.
Did you know that if you go to Dairy Queen and order a Blizzard, they have to hold it upside down and it has to stay there? Otherwise, you get it for free.
Yes.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, fun fact.
I'm gonna have to try
And if
and
they
get
don't-
fucking things.
And if they don't hand it to you upside down, or they show you that it can be upside down, you can say you can grab the whatever it is, and you say, "I would like a free one now, please, thank you," and you get it basically. But we're going to start with the ratings here with the very surprising rating numbers, and that's Vassar's territory.
Oh, as usual, it is time for the ratings. Starting off is TNA Impact, which drew 373,000 viewers, up from the 355,000 the week previous. Raw got 3.413 million, up from 3.3315 million the week previous. And finally, SmackDown got 2.835 million, up from the 2.714 million the week previous. And that's it for the ratings.
Dog with the birthdays.
And birthday is on the September 1st to Doug Williams, to Deuce, to Rocco Rock, to Sammy Callahan, and to Bam Bam Bigelow. He's in control. That's another really good Survivor Series team right there. Happy birthday on the 2nd of September to Tracy Smothers.
He used to wrestle at CCW here in Evansville a lot.
And to Joe E. Legend. Happy birthday on the 3rd to TJ Perkins. And then happy birthday on the 4th to Awesome Kong and to Xavier Woods. Happy birthday on the 5th to Derek Nykirk, to Minoru Fujita, and to Slick Wagner Brown. Happy birthday on the 6th to Wendy Richter, Low-Key, and Jillian Hall. That's a duo. Wendy Richter and Jillian Hall. That'd be a great... They need to perform together. And happy birthday on the 7th to Colin Olson, Molly Holly, and Mike Hawk. Oh, God damn it.
And now it is time for This Week in Wrestling with Omega BR.
Yes, this week in wrestling history, circa 1967, where Len Rossi defeats the Great Yamaha for the NWA Southern Junior Heavyweight title in Chattanooga, Tennessee, to begin his 5th reign. Jump to 1968, where Vern Gagne defeats Dr. X to win the AWA World Heavyweight title in Bloomington, Minnesota, to begin his 9th reign. And in 2006, Chris Jericho was eliminated from the first episode of the short-lived Fox series Celebrity Duets, in which 8 celebrities were given different musical partners each week. He had duets with Leanne Womack and Peter Frampton.
Wait, Jericho was eliminated in the first episode of a singing show?
Yep.
But Jericho doesn't, he's not
Have you
amazing.
ever listened to Fozzy?
He doesn't have a bad voice. He's just...
And this is
Have
our
you
sound
ever
producer,
listened to
ladies and
Fozzy?
gentlemen. This is our sound producer. He
He lost-
listens to things, and that's what
Okay.
he does on the show.
He lost to Leah Michelle.
Oh, well, of course he lost to Leah Michelle. She's a classically trained Broadway fucking performer.
Yeah, but she got
I
eliminated.
didn't know that.
She got eliminated in episode 2.
She was on fucking Glee, for Christ's sakes. She came from Broadway, went to Glee, and now she's gone back to Broadway.
You sure know a lot about Broadway, Yankton.
Oh, well, I know about a lot
Happy
about
Trails.
Leah Michelle.
They both
Happy
lost.
Trails.
I masturbated to her a lot.
And Lucy Lawless.
Dear Jesus. Happy Trails. Happy Trails to WAG star Barbara Blank, a.k.a. Kelly Kelly, who is the Hollywood medium Tyler Henry, and cried over contacting the ghost of former boyfriend Andrew Test Martin.
Are you
Pizza.
fucking kidding?
No, don't you mean Andrew the Punisher Martin?
Sure, Andrew the Punisher Martin. Happy trails to Bo Dallas, who, in classic Flair fashion, was kicked off a plane last Friday at Dallas-Fort Worth Airport for being too intoxicated and was later arrested. He also was heard calling Seth Rollins a dick, and I guess he was more going for the whatchamacallit. Why am I not remembering the family name from Texas?
I don't
All
know.
the dead ones.
You're missing one on here, though.
Oh, I know.
The other thing that he
Von
did
Erichs.
was
There we
sing the opening to Circle of Life.
Over and over again.
Yeah. Pennsylvania!
Please stop.
You know who won Celebrity Duets?
Who?
Carlton from Fresh Prince.
Oh, dear Jesus.
Oh, but come on, that's
He's
not
got a pretty
even
good
fair.
voice.
All right, and Happy Trails here. It's a very somber one, and I wanted to leave this one for last because I wanted to throw salt in Yankum's eyes. Happy Trails to friends and family of Mr. Fuji, who passed away at the age of 82. Apparently, he was a tough guy, a fighter from Hawaii, not actually Japanese, but and that's how he broke into the wrestling business. So there you go. What should we watch this week in wrestling? Who am I going to call on first this week? No, Nutchester, I'm not going to call on you because you sound like robots.
Mr. Fuji,
Okay, nope.
Yep.
Oh no, Dr. Connor's class.
Courtney.
I'm going to say anything to do with Miz and Ziggler because, unfortunately, the loser of that is going to go into upper card until Samoa Joe gets called up.
Yankum, what should we watch this week in wrestling?
I didn't get to watch anything but the Universal title match and was the last match on SmackDown. I got to watch part of that. So I'm watching Raw and SmackDown this week, unfortunately.
Vassar, what should we watch this week in wrestling?
I'm just gonna throw this out there since I want this to happen sooner than later. Kevin Steen versus El Generico at the Ladder War.
Oh, dear Jesus, yes, I love that one. Dog, what should we watch this week in wrestling?
You should be watching college fucking football this weekend.
No,
You got
it's
shit to
wrestling.
do.
Nobody watches college
Fuck wrestling.
football.
College football this weekend, Monday night, Ole Miss, Florida State at the Citrus Bowl. By the way, this weekend in college football, 5 former WrestleMania hosting stadiums are going to be having games.
That's perfectly nice, but what should we watch this week in wrestling?
You should watch Akira Tozawa and Grand Metalik from the Cruiserweight Classic. I thought that was an excellent match.
Omega, what should we watch this week in wrestling?
Well, it was reported that Allison Brie has signed on to star in that Netflix series about Glow, and Chavo Guerrero Jr. has actually been hired to help train the actresses to, put on Glow-style matches. So I would suggest watching some Glow. There's plenty. I know I've suggested it many times in the past, but there's plenty of matches on YouTube and the old raps and everything. It's it's not like as we know it today. It's not women's wrestling or even back in the day. It's not fabulous Moolah type wrestling, but it's entertaining.
WrestleLicious is the more updated version of Glow. If you wanted to look that up as well, if you enjoyed, that masochist, you had a little masochist in you. I'm just saying. But
by the way, Chavo's uncle, I think his name was Mondo Guerrero, actually was the trainer for the original Glow.
Which is just, full circle right there. All right, so you should watch this week in wrestling. Chris Jericho versus Neville from Raw this week, because I was definitely impressed by that match. I really want to see them go on a pay-per-view for 25 minutes for a title, because that would be just amazing, because the two of them could put on a great match. Not that anybody would actually give them the time to be able to do that, but, one can hope. Bola this weekend. Looking forward to Bola.
Who isn't?
Oh, King of Trios is this weekend as well.
And King of Trios is tomorrow.
Yeah, I kind of ashamed I forgot about it, but I'm not going this year. So
It's just such a shame.
there's
Bola's
yeah, they're on at the same time.
Oh, they're not at the same time. Okay, so Bola and King of Trios this weekend. So lots of indie wrestling to watch coming up here, which is just increasing the amount of wrestling everybody else has to watch, too. Go figure, right? Let's see here. One special plug I'd like to give. Recently in Louisiana, you all heard about the floods there. One Man Gang lives in Baton Rouge, and his house was absolutely fucking demolished. He's currently trying to raise $20,000 on GoFundMe. GoFundMe.com/2LBN0US. I'm going to link that. I'm going to link that on my Twitter, and hopefully we'll get that on the Smark Snark Twitter relatively shortly. But go help One Man Gang rebuild his house after these, 500-year floods. All right, so that's it for this week. Thank you very much for listening. Twitter.com/SmarkSnark, Facebook.com/SmarkSnark, SmarkSnark.com if you want to check us out. Spreaker.com/SmarkSnark, Patreon.com/SmarkSnark, 812-408-9666, or 812-408. Woo! He's actually got energy this week. Go figure. And SRS Podcast on Skype if you wanted to add that too. Thank y'all for listening. And we'll catch you next week. So take care and spike your hair.
Oh, woo woo woo.
You know it.
College football this weekend. Best opening weekend ever. Watch it. Watch it.
Good night, Neatman.
Actually, before we go, I'm going to play. I just picked one at random. It can't be that bad. Fozzie, it can't be that bad.
Cover your ears.
So I'm going to play this. It can't be that bad, right? Because Jericho's awesome.
The Bound for Glory theme.
It's Enemy 2011. Oh, for the love of fuck for this thing.
It was so bad! Your system dumped it! Your system dumped it! It was that bad! Good night.
Gotta say one thing, you guys really need to get over not liking Ziggler or Miz, because you're gonna see them on the face of the brand for a long time.